So Theo, do you think? So Theo, what do you think? Is this drinking game time?
Unfortunately, I wanted it to be, but due to complications, I just simply couldn't. But there was an attempt.
Honestly,
would there have been
this
to
game
even
is
drink
nowhere near as rage
Yes,
inducing.
Pedro. But you know what it does have? Lots of drinking, even if it's free. So the feeling would have
been
been
point
there.
there.
Well, by that logic, shouldn't you be drinking tea?
I already did. I wanted to do something different. Plus, you know, the grown-up version of tea. Sorry, Shiro.
He's got a point, Pedro. He's got a point, Pedro. And besides, he could always Irish up the tea anyway.
I had no idea.
I guess.
Today's the day we destroy.
Also, why does Moebius have a Celtic glyph on its crotch in dragon form?
And why does he have two different voice actors?
Because he's bigger now, and I guess this is his serious voice.
Okay, wait.
But
now
he also had this when he was a Sand.
No, Pedro is referring to the fact that he has a male and a female voice actor.
I know.
What the
fuck is that? Tio, I know. I even pointed that out myself.
But no, I'm chucking up to the fact that, again, it's a deity, so it's not really important in that regard.
Like I was saying, I guess his male voice is his more serious voice, and his female voice is his real voice, apparently.
I'm not sure it can be probably because it's a depower 4 thanks to the something 4.
I get that the game is making his confused identity as a joke, but it just comes across as just dumb. But
honestly,
anyway,
I don't think this game comes across as dumb.
Honestly, I don't even know if it's a joke. Like I said before, I'm just running on the theory that it's one of the common Japanese tropes of drawing a female and calling it a boy. I mean, dear God, the Fate series is incredibly infamous for that with Astolfo, although Astolfo is more endearing of a character at the very least.
Anyway, yeah, this is yet another giant boss battle that works exactly like the NetherDrake boss battle. The big difference, however, is that even by this game's standards, the characters never stop talking during the battle.
Not just that, even
I guess you could argue.
Even the shots are like drowning out in terms of sound.
I
tried fixing the sound mixing, but again, like I guess the only way to properly hear all of this is to just turn down the music before the boss battle starts. Go ahead, Joe.
I guess you could argue that, you know, the dialogue does help keep the fight from getting stale, because let's not forget, these boss fights can go on for a while. So
they're super simplistic and repetitive and not at all engaging. But yeah.
It probably doesn't help that I believe there's a total of literally only 2 of these fights, so they never really get to mix stuff up with them anyway. Like, you know, for as much problems as Super Mario and Luigi Dream Team may have had, the giant fights each had something nice and unique about each of them. Right, Tio?
I can tell you this, Java Alpha Dream game's problems don't rely on the gameplay, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But again, I mean, as 2 of us who play Dream Team...
Game.
What?
Green light.
Basically,
what's going on here?
I wasn't damaging him. It's one of those boss battles where you're supposed to realize, oh, I'm not damaging him, and then a cutscene happens to trigger what actually is supposed to weaken the boss.
You were damaging him.
That's the thing, Tail. It gets to a point where he stops being damaged for no reason.
Wasn't really showing it, though.
I know that, and we both accepted it. We are ready to take back the promise anytime.
Ah, crap.
Also, so many shooting stars in the background for some reason.
Because
Wait,
it's the end of the world.
Hold on. Are the Heartless destroying worlds again?
You can't get rid of it yourself.
No. Don't worry, Jova. There's only one world in this game. So...
Also, it's not one we care about anyway, so what would it matter?
What if one of those worlds is Verum Rex?
Hey, look, Jova. I would say the stars going out, but they're all falling, so no, they're not going out.
Oh, wait, of course. I nearly forgot.
Ex Machina.
Wait, of course, no, how silly of me. Star shooting is the sign that the worlds are being freed from the world of darkness, as the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 showed.
So that's your purpose in the story? To solve the problem off screen? Sorry.
No. Oh my God!
Hold it. Actually, that's another thing. Eva, or since you're not bounded by a vow, you can actually start shooting at MoebiusDrake.
Wait, oh
How
my
about
God,
that?
does this mean we're going to have to see her naked?
No, please.
No, don't worry, Jova. Like, we're fine.
People can only help others if they live on. That's the one privilege we have. If this will make my beloved grandchildren, their husband-to-be, friends, and the country happy, what greater happiness could I ask for?
Grandma, wait! I can take care of this myself.
Actually, Toki, you clearly can't take care of this yourself because, well...
You've just been told you can't.
Grandma!
Wrong, you fools!
Grandma, why are you doing the exact same poses over and over?
I'm on a budget, on a
Please,
budget,
please,
on a budget.
Toki?
Grandma, she told us.
That's a wonderful vow the two of you came up with, but you need to save it. A man will come
So
into
there
your
you go,
life
she went back in the past and prevented them from doing that original
Okay.
vow. But hold on, doesn't that mean that literally that would avoid literally everything that happened in this game?
Yeah, that should. Oh wait,
What is
That should erase Moebius from existence in
wait,
general.
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
so now the game is starting to have the promise connected to its time travel. Fantastic.
Wait,
Right at
hold on.
trip at the very
Ah.
end.
Why not just call it a day right now? You'll lose your memories, lose your other half.
Okay, I guess the male voice is pretty much only for his dragon form then.
And the sand form. So, not human objects, I suppose.
In other words, this villain's overall everything makes no sense.
Also, so okay.
Shut.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
Less from the man they chose, but I'm gonna have to beat you up now and make you look
Hey,
like a total
oh,
loser.
and again, he points out
Also,
that.
the perspective doesn't work at all with this shot.
Down so easy. I'll pulverize
Do you
into
really
the
think
ground.
it's a good idea to
And then
focus the
raise
camera
my
on
glass
this
in victory.
person's ass?
I love how
Oh,
he even.
absolutely. This
Especially
is
when they
clearly
give it a
something...
dramatic speech.
I love how he even goes on
This is
to.
clearly the thing that needs to be shown at the creator who had a wedding around the time he was developing. You know, you need like a PowerPoint presentations of screenshot of the game, and one of it is this ass at the end, and he's like, "You see, guys, this is the fruit of my work, the perfect thing I can show you at this wedding."
Oh, but don't you see, guys? It's perfect because it's a guy. It's not even, sexual exploitation.
Keep in
I'm
mind
not gonna
also.
get into that.
Keep in mind also-
But we've seen like half-naked pictures of these very much female characters. That doesn't work.
But sure,
in mind-
Moebius is a guy. He even pointed out in his speech that he's a man.
I'm talking about Toki and Towa.
Alright, anyway, now it's the boss battle for reals this time.
Keep in mind weird traditions when it comes to like doing mini weddings. Like sometimes they do like a particular weird tradition where one he pulls wooden stick up his nose and then starts begging with a wooden chest, which it's a reference to a particular historical event or a myth, but I don't know what specific it is that one.
Focus on the battle at hand.
Yeah, need to focus on the battle ahead. How about by not talking and actually focusing? Because
Well, okay. Maybe it's like Spider-Man,
No, that's the thing, Jova. That's not going to work in a few minutes as you're about to do.
I bet you were thinking how lucky you were to marry two girls.
There you go. And once again, we're going to immediately not take this battle in the least bit seriously because, God forbid, I'm actually invested in something in this game.
How dare you, girl.
Oh, wait,
actually
hold on.
the
Get
point of
ready.
The fact that we need to have Zack actually repent for his actions.
Get it? Oh, wait, hold on, guys. Wait, hold on, guys. The game's about to try to be heartwarming. Wait for it.
Listen, there you go.
I'm sorry, Toki, I can't fucking hear you over these blasts.
Alright, let me recap
There's a
that.
cat happening.
Yeah, please say what it was.
Let me recap. Basically, most people were saying, don't you see, Drake, you get to marry two girls now. I bet you're all giddy and shit. and he was trying to pretend not because he didn't want to sound like a pervert to Toki, and Moebius confronted her with, but you see, he's all thinking about how he gets to bang 2 girls, and then Toki's like, what more could I ask for? And then both of them are like, what? He accepts and loves both of us. He's the best man we could have wished for. So there you go. The fact that he wants to bang them both is exactly what makes him the ideal man in her eyes.
I mean, okay.
I mean, it's convenient. It's convenient, but I guess it's better because at least they accept each other for what they are.
I mean, yeah.
That's what the game is trying to go for, yes, but again, it doesn't convey that in any way that's heartwarming or meaningful. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, to its credit, we've seen that he does truly love both of them through the course of this game. I think the problem is just how it's presented, though. I mean, now, admittedly, the first time we played it, we hadn't really seen those side conversations. So as far as we knew, no, he just wanted the sex. But now that we've actually seen it, it's not as bad as it was the first time I saw that line. All the same, though, it still does come off as a bit of a clumsy read.
Impossible to get rid of.
Not to mention.
Why are you still spinning?
Same to you.
Not to mention, remember Infinity. Not to mention, all those side conversations, as we've seen, always boil down to perverted and stupid jokes anyway. So the game doesn't at all convey any kind of believable emotional connection between these 3.
Let's go talk with some tea about this.
Compare this to something like let's say how about this, Zidane and Garnet in Final Fantasy IX, where they actually talk to one another various times about, and the game doesn't constantly cut to jokes. Yes, there are sometimes humorous moments between the two, but when the game actually dramas up, it actually dramas up.
We're literally going back to talk about this in a tea party.
Oh god, you can't be serious.
Basically, I was just wanting to check if there was something new to do before the final boss, but there isn't.
How nice.
I just wanted to check too.
But oh no, we're all on our own with no one else to talk to.
Yeah, where did the others go?
I think the dialogue we got in the last part sort of did that, like Toki dismissed them or something.
Yes, but hey, whatever. It's not like I care. There you go. All right, now I'm gonna load my proper main save file where.
Well, I can tell you this for your example, Pedro. 509 has, in terms of writing, an idea on what to distribute in terms of characters, in terms of plot tone.
But that's exactly the thing, Teo. If you allow me.
Hold on. The reason why most of the comedy is probably better to you guys is because it's mostly relied upon. Sometimes Vivi's clueless, but also Giant Towa. I know it's a perspective thing, but it looked like she was giant. I'll say later.
Okay. Please, hear us out.
No.
We just wanted to say, fuck you.
Toki and I.
So there you go. Now I get to choose. Here's the thing, though. This choice that we're about to be forced to do doesn't matter. What really makes the ending is the affection meter. So this choice is nothing but just a waste of your time.
Unless you have it at the middle.
Doesn't it actually affect the affection meter?
Not that the game tells me.
Okay.
Toki, Towa.
Basically, till right now, I'm in the exact middle point of the affection meter.
Actually, maybe it's that. It doesn't even like that. Like if you're in the middle point and you mention one of the girls, it pen bends on that particular side.
Not that I've seen too. Not that I've noticed, because apparently, not to mention Tail, you can't even choose. Even if there was Tail, you have to be forced to choose between either Toki or Towa. If you try to say I can't decide, the game will just tell you have to, and it just loops over and over until you pick one of them.
The best kind of choice.
Fun with you. And I was looking forward to everything that was to come in the future. I was looking forward to everything in ways that I really shouldn't.
See now, dialogue. Hold on, let me.
But that's exactly it, Joe.
Hold on.
It's just dumb.
Hold on. Let me finish. It's like, dialogue like this would work better if there were more of it. The problem is, again, this plot has a bit of a schizophrenic sense of tone shift here and there.
You're telling me schizophrenic is putting it lightly. This game has flat-out bipolar disorder as far as tone is concerned.
Well, it depends on what you consider worse, schizophrenia or bipolarishness.
Well, which is technically the one that's the most,
Schizophrenia is more lighter, technically speaking.
Okay, then in that case we'll go with bipolar, I guess.
Oh my god, he looks like a Picasso drawing when she holds him like that.
Again, we don't have a hugging animation, so... Oh, look at that! She kissed him on the mouth. How nice.
Is my most sincere wish.
And there's still somehow no fan art.
So there you
Yep,
go.
no fan art. Well, except for that one.
She right. Barely anyone bought this game, so
If it's too much,
much least completed.
we can make
So
the choice.
But
most
it's a
people.
weeb game. I
No,
mean,
I
Jesus.
need to do this myself. I can't.
Yeah,
imagine
I've actually a bit
That's
from
the
the
thing,
gut
sure. I don't
myself,
think
but
even
I'll
the
mention more.
weebs cared.
I'll mention more.
That's-
Well,
that's the
or
sad
they
part.
know. I'll mention my kind of thoughts.
You know, Pedro, it's funny you mention how we technically have sexualized Toki and Towa, but if I'm to be honest, there's been more sexualization of Moebius than either of these girls. And yes, even though they've showered naked,
Aye.
that stuff is so tame by comparison.
Honestly, it's probably because they're a villain character, because that tends to
Toki
happen.
says,
I guess.
Did I remind you that Ultimatia runs around with a robe literally being sucked
So
in
there
her
you go.
crotch?
So there you go. I chose Towa.
suffering
Just for the sake of, I don't know. I think you get to see it in the or not ending. So I'll mention
And
it
now
later.
it's
But anyway,
time for the
continuing what I
final
was trying to
boss
say.
fight for
That's
some
okay,
reason.
Just to continue what I was saying to Teo, though, that's the thing too. Final Fantasy IX had to also develop other characters that are not Zidane and Garnet, and yet it still managed to do it. This game only had this character and the two girls, so they had more than enough time to develop these two characters. These are the only two characters that really needed development, and yet even still they couldn't properly.
I think it's more of a fact that aside from some very minor quirks like Towa being a bit more, rude and stuff like that, each character roughly has the same personality and type of dialogue, including the how do we start into jokes. That's probably the real problem. The fact that this makes them less unique. Like what I was saying before was the fact that 9 tends to have each character feel drastically different, also in the way they talk, and they are reserved in terms of narrative. Like Steiner is the comic relief for most of Disc 1 and 2, for example. Freya is instead a more tragic figure. Bibi is the one that needs to learn. Zidane is essentially... Bibi is more of a audience surrogate, but Zidane also fulfills a bit of a role. But you see what I'm saying, the fact that they feel so distinctly different. In here, the distinction between with the characters is more of a physical looking, how we look, and a bit about their quirk, but otherwise they do feel the same. That's also why everything seems to be on the same level, because it probably is. Hence also why most of the jokes don't land, because they're on the same level, technically speaking.
Basically. Anyway, we beat Moebius and Toki.
Back then, Robotnik will be so proud.
Toki disappears into the ether, which means Zack will marry Towa. Don't worry,
Okay.
we'll see. Don't worry, we'll see.
Say something, Jova?
Don't worry, we'll see the other two endings
I
as
would
well.
just
Go ahead, Jova.
Right. For reference sake, Final Fantasy IX had not one but two romances it actually built on.
I think there are a couple, like...
Well, the one between Beatrix and Steiner was...
I know.
semi-serious.
Played for laughs, but it was still a romance nonetheless.
Oh,
I still ship them.
I do
No,
too.
I do too, Teo. It's not that's not the issue. That's why I was saying semi-serious, semi-comical. Like it was kind of meant to be like a balance between both extremes, rather than like go full romantic or go full comedy.
Oh my god, we actually made a moving animation for Zack!
We won.
I guess they saved all their money for this ending,
How did I?
for the climax.
It's
Yeah.
funny you mention about this particular ending, Pedro, if this is the ending I think it is.
No. Right now we're doing the Toki ending.
How did I come to be
What?
unconscious?
Oh, I thought we were doing like
think.
I thought
Oh,
we were
never mind,
doing.
we're doing
I thought we
the-
were doing the version that has both Toki and Towa survive.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Oh
Remember you
boy!
mentioned the middle zone ending before.
Oh boy, folks! Now you're probably wondering, SCWRM, wouldn't the one between these two be the true ending? And wouldn't you want to save the true ending for last? Well, let's just say we've got a little bit of a surprise, or lack thereof.
Not just that, the quote-unquote best ending is the most unsatisfying, if you ask me. It doesn't even have its own animated cutscene.
Marry me.
I mean, you have to work extra hard to get this ending, and yet it's the most unsatisfying to me, to be honest.
So suddenly.
As someone who normally prefers the neutral ending in situations where it's possible, yeah, I agree. This is just.
Hey, you can't put me on the
So there you go. Turns out Towa survived. Well, both of them survived. Somehow the game never explains this. Apparently, Zack's love for both of them was so strong that it somehow destroyed the laws of space-time space-time continuum.
Okay, let's think about it though like this though. Moebius was implying that the vow was the only reason that Toki and Towa both survived, because think about it. The grandmother went back in time and convinced them not to make the vow, yet that would apparently make one of them disappear. Wouldn't that imply that one of them had to have not existed before the vow was made, if the vow was the reason that the two coexisted? Seeing as how the vow was the only reason that one of them was threatened to disappear, or because Zack apparently had to die?
Anyway, the basic point is that both of them lost their memories, so they don't remember Zack. But Zack is still like, please marry me.
Basically, they'll have to fall in love all over again.
Actually, no, Joe, but they don't.
Oh wait, that's right! I almost forgot. Hold on, we got a bit...
Even Walt Disney would say you're rushing.
That's Waterville. It looks like... I don't even know what it looks like.
Toki and Towa are officially the easiest girls to hook up with, it seems.
I mean, wait, hold on.
Can't imagine what their Tinder profile will look like.
Hold on. Maybe deep down they remember something. There we go.
Time can't explain.
Yeah, fuck you, game.
Well,
maybe in a better game this would fly, but no.
Okay.
It's very sad when the host has a better story about two people living in the same body.
Okay, I feel like Doctor Who did this well. When a woman who can't remember about her lover is wiped out, apparently cries but doesn't know why. But deep down knows why. Wow, not even a moving frame for this.
I do.
Wow, not even a joke from the priest.
And this is the final shot of the true ending.
To live happily ever after. Forever.
The neutral ending is incredibly half-assed, and considering it's the hardest one to get.
I take back any positive I had to say about these riddles. 0 out of 10.
And why is he a dragon again? Seriously, why is he a dragon again?
Maybe they're just
because it's been for most of the game.
Okay, here's a better question. How are the two out there? Is this supposed to be some metaphor or something?
That's a feint, Joe, but the game doesn't explain it. It just happens because.
And yeah, oh, by the way, folks, that was it. That was it for the hardest ending to get, the supposed true ending.
Alright, now let's see what Toki says in the scene instead of Towa.
I'm both sincerely thankful to have met you.
Aww.
I'm not.
Like that.
It seems that the memories of our journey together have disappeared.
Well, that sucks.
Felt for you throughout it all.
Actually, Toki, the feelings are very dependent on memories of the other people, so technically they would have disappeared as well.
Not always the case. Sometimes you get those feelings like right deep down in there.
Did you really forget everything? All those times we traveled back into the past, over and over?
It was annoying.
Every time
it was,
got interrupted,
and boring.
We went back, promising that next time it would
and shallow, and dumb.
Jesus, I'd rather be looking at Fairy Fence Ref. Don't get me wrong, Fairy Fence Ref's a worse game, but Fairy Fence Ref feels like it has more soul put into it.
It's I don't know, Joe, but for me it's more like I said.
Okay. Let me just put it on the typical rule of thumb. It has lower lows but higher highs than this game.
We'll say this, Joe. Fairy Fence Ref also has the advantage of a more cartridge in its bandolier.
True that.
And a better battle system, I guess.
And hell. The alternate timelines and whatnot were more interesting than the alternate endings you get in this game.
Okay, well, in that case, Jova, let's try instead of comparing to vanilla Fairy Fence Ref, the one with only the goddess timeline.
The PS3 version, yes.
Okay, I mean, okay, fine. Well, I guess that one had technically alternate endings with who
I
you
still
shipped
argue
Fang
that
with.
in that case, to give an idea, Joe, I still argue that the Goddess timeline is still technically my favorite of the bunch.
Really?
In terms of how it handles it. Yes, you remember, Joe, well, keep in mind that my final thoughts for Faith and Trap were
Oh, look,
severely
Pedro, they do
altered.
have a hugging animation after all.
So it's interesting too, because I remember you saying you were partial to the Vile God route at one point.
Well, I guess, but that's also because it's a well, I guess too. But I forgot which of the two.
Oh,
I
and look
forgot
at,
in which of the two you can specifically avoid the
The pedophilia scene,
yeah.
the goddess route.
I guess technically better by proxy in that case.
well, yeah, I mean,
Mostly, and also how it technically handles the characters, because again, the evil goddess route just pretty much decimates all the characters I cared for. That
Yeah, true.
oh, also, look at that. I was right. Toki does not kiss Dragon Zack.
Yeah, that's a Towa thing.
And
So
like-
yeah, basically.
So wait, oh my god. So sure, you know what this means, right?
What?
The blonde's a scaly.
of course.
Whatever, moving on.
Anyway, though,
I'm
as a,
learning that a lot of people are furries today.
Anyway, yeah, as you can see, regardless of which girl you have, that girl in this scene will always tell you, please, I want you to choose the other one. For Toki's cases, I've had plenty of time with you. Now it's Towa's turn. Let Towa have a chance to have some happiness. In case of Towa, is like, look, I wasn't even supposed to show up anyway. Just go with Toki. She's the one you actually spend more time with, and she's like, so that both of them make a noble sacrifice and whatever. But whatever, I don't care.
I just want to point out again, Pedro, they actually did have a hugging animation for Drake.
That is
But only
true.
when it was held by Toki, I guess.
Oh, come on, just recolor her hair yellow and bam, that's
But
tough.
again, Jova, it's something that we have seen throughout the entire game twice at this point. The fact that so many easy decisions were actually avoided in order to make things a bit more complicated without a real reason behind that.
You know, I
I
just
don't
want to
understand
point.
it.
I just want to point out that with that animation, it looks like Moebius is shooting that stuff out of his crotch. Stripperific. Again, why is it that?
It's more also the fact that now it has a staff, even though it never showed in cutscenes.
Again, the fact that the most sexualized character in this game is actually the man. Are they trying to make some statement or something here?
No, Jova, because once again, it's a god. Gender is irrelevant for this being.
Again, Tio, it's implied that that's his true form. So
Honestly, this could have been solved much easily if they upped up to that status and only refer to when Red Moebius refer to with the royal we. Fixes
no.
literally everything.
not only that though, not only does he refer to himself as a he, but he refers to himself as a man too. So yeah, they're out and proud about it. Okay, I'll give it this though. The boss music here is pretty nice.
Again, Yuzo Koshiro at least, for the most part, knew what he was doing. At
He
least.
was the only one who actually seemed invested in what he was making, at least.
Sincerity is like the race.
What does we still haven't figured out what sincerity actually does in this game, have we?
The game doesn't tell me, Joe, and the manual doesn't even either. So
Wait, the
And
manual doesn't?
considering how solid. Actually, last minute research. Let me see if GameFAQs has a guide on this. If that doesn't even have it too, that's a statement.
it does too, but I don't think they talk about that.
Go ahead
But,
and check.
I'll do it. Don't worry, Jova.
And Toga's like, yeah, goodbye, be happy, and blah blah blah.
And
yeah.
now
Shit.
Pixie just falls on us for some reason.
I wish I was high right now.
Because it was meant to look happy and shit.
Yeah, there's only literally one guide. Like,
Wow.
not even a set of questions.
It's starting to see what I mean, Shiro, even though we, for the most
There
part,
we
didn't
go.
seem to care.
Stats. Agility. Recovers from guard break more easily, recovers on dizzy more easily. Dexterity. Increases the chance for critical blow. Luck. Decreases the chance of becoming dizzy. Sincerity. Decreases the chance of enemy critical blows. Influences the affection balance. Love. Influences the affection balance. There you go.
There you go. So sincerity did matter.
Something.
Except the game.
I don't understand why it will give you at the last minute
I have
with
to
the
wonder,
final
though.
boss. It's like in Final Fantasy VII, where defeating the last form of Genova gives you guild, even though you're not gonna use them.
I have to wonder though, how the hell you were supposed to figure that out without actually,
broke the Moebius.
Does this
learning how
get
the game is programmed because
does the physical version has a manual?
and it doesn't talk anything about that too. I have it. So.
Okay.
You know, okay, you know, game stats not being told what they actually mean, that's like old school game stuff. You know, the whole hidden stats thing.
Yeah.
Also, those poor rendered trees in the background. Jeez.
Ooh.
You know, Image Epoch. You know that game, that console RPG you made before this one, Arc Rise Fantasia, where you had a very comprehensive and very easy to
I
understand
still
tutorial.
question if it
Why
was
can't you have that
whole team
here?
of people.
Yeah, no, it's
Libs, are you still alive?
well, even if it's
well, I mean, you guys have
well, I can tell you too.
Sure, don't worry, just
Well,
checking.
I can tell you too that it's not the same director because the director of Arc Rise Fantasia was the same guy who directed Tales of Symphonia.
Again, that can speak a lot in terms of everything.
And after just meeting for the first time, you're funny.
Boys, am I right?
Why not? Why not? It's not like you have high standards.
Directed by Robert T. Wide. Ton, 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 dun, dun, dun.
Hello?
They're taking their time, Joe.
Hello?
Please.
Wow, this is more.
Jesus. That may have been awkward even by Shyamalan standards.
With guest director Yoshinori
Where's your
Kitase.
mouth? Oh, there it is.
Someone say something, please. Thank you.
Silence can be awkward. I get it when they're trying to build the moment, but...
like I said too, with guest director Yoshinori Kitase.
Honestly, even Katase's pauses aren't that bad.
We have something.
or poignant.
It is a great view, Quistis, of whatever it is I'm looking at.
Whatever.
Hey, you know what that cloud looks like?
So,
No cloud, no squall shall hinder us. Yes, we know.
No, I was gonna say that cloud looks like a better game. Where
oh,
is that
great!
haunting
We
sound?
to hear this one last time.
So yeah, there you go.
Talk.
See, we even have a
Tick.
day before the wedding thing.
Talk.
See the actual
I wish we could just do it right.
individual endings are far more elaborate.
You feel the
Like you
same
could
way?
tell the neutral ending was completely half-assed.
Faster than what normal time
But
would
why
even
though? I don't understand.
That we aren't happy
It
already,
really boggles. Okay, I have to wonder, were they like
happier
on
starting
crunch
tomorrow.
time at some point and they
We've been
had to
together
Most
rush
likely,
the
I do
most?
want. I legitimately imagine this was rushed because lots of people, or the budget simply just ended.
You know what this is
Because
like?
we already had to cut so many corners. I guess they need to cut it just one more.
This is like if every ending in Shadow the Hedgehog got higher production values than the true ending did. That would be just incredibly stupid, and I hate you still.
Isn't that one of the endings? Hedgehog just proclaiming that he's like the best hedgehog in the world or something.
That's the thing, though. That's not the true ending, though. The
No,
true
I know
ending-
it's not. It was just. I think I watched like a compilation or something a long time ago.
The real ending is the one that has CGI cutscenes too. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
so
I know that.
Game, you're being outdone by Shadow the Hedgehog.
On the
And that
PS.
came out in 2005.
On the PS2 for crying out
You're being
loud.
outdone. You're being outdone by 2005 Sonic Team. Think about that image, Epoch. You are being outdone by 2005 Sonic Team.
Oh, guys,
I
look,
think
Weddy.
it's time to throw in the towel.
Oh, guys,
like-
look, Weddy didn't trip and fall. Character
Right.
development.
Oh,
Okay,
and you were pointless.
Whoa! Hey, how'd you do that?
She really was. She doesn't
I'm
even
from the
have
future.
a character arc.
She was supposed to have that for the first cycle again, but it was barely present. Her supposed love for Ricardo.
For as detestable as Reiju is, even she had a more of a character arc than Naina did.
But we still managed to become great friends throughout the past
Once
year.
again, you're still horrible people, though, so that's pointless.
except for Weddy.
I'd like you to meet
I mean, I guess there is some solidarity in, unity in what we are. So kudos for that. It's just, please don't ask me to hang around with you.
And I
Ever.
guess to give Zack and Toki credit, they at least waited a year before actually getting married again, so they could get to know each other. So
Yeah, too bad we never actually see any of that.
Even fucking Ricardo gets a spot for the ending.
Honey, over there, what are you doing back there? And
And
why is he on
Linus-
top of the bush?
why
Because
does
it's a ninja, Pedro. It needs to be, imposing with that.
how
After
does that
Earth, where
physically
Will Smith
work?
is suddenly on top of whatever that thing was in that scene.
Number 1, huh?
But hey, look, in this timeline, Ricardo is the #1 baker in town.
Huh?
Imagine you're watching a movie, then we cut to a scene, and we cut back to the previous angle, and suddenly one of the characters are on top of the fridge. Like, it's just...
Well, I guess our time meddling led to Ricardo's future being a lot better.
Jesus Christ, what it must be like to live your life as someone who can only do the exact same one motion throughout your entire life? What must that be like?
I mean, in their world, doing that animation, that means that you're doing announcing that your tea's ready will probably be the same as announcing.
Grandma, where's your shadow?
Look at that. She looks like she's flying. Like, couldn't you at the very least try to make the characters look like they're actually here?
You know, guys, this kind of implies that the grandma just never comes back in the true ending. Seeing as how we never see her.
Nor the side characters for that matter.
Was actually pretty darn easy. Easy?
Or that, or maybe that ending was just so rushed that they didn't have time to have the side characters show up.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Whatever you say, Sakura. Now, how about that husband of yours who's never around?
Remember, Jova, Sakura is literally worse because her gene contributed to a Uchika that needs glasses.
Damn.
We'll make each other happy. I promise.
God, that pause.
Excuse me.
I'm sure you will.
This is a common thing in bad Japanese localizations, Jova. Pregnant pauses.
You know, if at the very least the lip sync was good, but no, the lip sync is awful. And again, Mira and I do, the lip sync is awful even in the original Japanese version.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like if you put in the Japanese audio, the lip syncing is still bad.
Good times and bad, to have and to keep her, for richer or poorer, to love and to honor her in sickness and in health.
And then they get interrupted again.
And then these trees to kill them.
This time it's me who shows up and kills all of them.
Well, you do care, then.
If I would play this game, I probably would have edited it like that.
No, it's like The Sopranos, it just cuts to black, so it's like a meteorite ended up on the church.
The Sopranos, wasn't that one that didn't actually have an ending, it just stopped?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you see, Zack? This is going to be the start of a wonderful franchise. Well, seriously.
Sure it is. Alright, and now...
hey, NeverDrake!
Dragon are here for some reason. Anyway, but guess what, guys? We have one final reveal.
Oh, Princess Carrie.
Let me guess.
Oh, actual people!
Yes!
Let's see.
And it's Ricardo!
No, Makimona.
Of course it's Makimona.
Yes!
Hold on.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I just thought of our first baby's name.
Oh god, I don't want to know that.
Let's name her Towa.
Of course.
That sounds just perfect.
Listen here.
And
That
now,
makes it awkward.
to live happily ever after with Toki for all eternity.
Until you die.
For all eternity. Keep that in mind for the Towa ending. Alright, now here's the Towa ending.
Also, it does make it awkward.
It does. But that's the thing, Shira. That's the thing, Shira. I'm absolutely convinced that whoever wrote this game is a sociopath, so it doesn't feel any of that awkwardness.
Again. It's actually the opposite. I get the feeling love makes you dumb, and he was so happy about being married that his head was not in the right place with this game.
We got caught in the
It definitely feels like someone...
Maybe it's just a prank it's a prank that went too far. He genuinely just wanted to have a couple of laughs at his wedding with his friends, and we were like, well, why don't we make just a full game while we're at it?
Oh my god, Tia, you may have solved it, because, that would explain...
No, I haven't. I just pulled it out of my ass. So go on, Pedro.
That's the thing, though. It makes sense, though, why the tone is so out of nowhere, because it started off as a prank, but they had no idea where to go with making it a full
like
game.
that awkward set of, I forgot what it's called, like photo shoots when a couple after a honeymoon forces you to see even what you don't want to.
Okay.
Oh, what? Am I supposed to care now this time, game? No stupid jokes to deflate whatever tension this is supposed to have?
I think the pretentious piano was your cue.
Yeah. I don't know, Tail. The last time we were having a pretentious piano, suddenly Toki and Towa are like, oh, by the way, it's me. Oh, okay, if you insist. No, me. And then the trumpet theme plays, so I don't know.
The trumpet theme then was your cue.
He's
Again, musical dissonance in a way at least gives you a cue.
But yeah, Jova, you know what's the interesting thing, Jova? What you said earlier reminds me of something, you know? Dan Scanlon specifically made it very clear that Onward was heavily inspired by actual events of his life. You know, and he did say in an interview that while he was making and directing certain scenes that are directly copied from stuff he lived through, he asked his fellow filmmakers, his team, to tell him if he's getting way too self-indulgent. Like he asked, okay, if I go too far, please tell me so I can stop. You know, clearly the guy who made this game did not follow that philosophy. I didn't tell them to.
So you're saying the director and writer of this game had a girlfriend/wife that was two different people?
No, remember, Dwebs, the reason he made this game is because he was getting married at the time, so he wanted to make a JRPG about marriage. That's the whole thing.
You know what this is like? This is like the famous SpongeBob quote. Okay, so you've gotten this far. Now what? I don't know. I never thought I'd get this far.
Well then, allow me to suggest your next move turns off the game.
Curse you, crabs!
Like being in front of a crowd.
Don't worry.
God.
I'll be right there next to you. We've been together a year now.
Again,
okay.
It's just one of those things. This entire game is entirely dependent on me caring about the relationship between these two, and I do not give a shit because the dialogue was crap. Like Jova said, the tone is the tone is all over the place. It's impossible for me to care about any of this because none of these characters feel like people. They feel like anime stereotypes.
Not even good anime stereotypes. Like, for something that's so by the numbers, it feels like it's just the bare minimum. And like I said, for a game that's supposed to be trying to be about fan service, it feels like most of the fan service went to the villain, who's the guy. And okay, you know, I'm not saying that guys can't be the victims of fan service here and there. There's plenty of fan service for the ladies or the gay guys, but...
Honestly, Joe, fan service just needs to be in a better control, and at that point, probably people will actually start appreciating it.
Like, let me put it like this. Just because someone makes porn doesn't mean they don't know what taste is. A lot of porn artists can get hired to make good stuff.
It's even easier than that, Jova. Unity, everyone should have the right to be aroused, as simple as that.
Exactly.
I have no problem. Exactly. There's absolutely no problem with people making porn. It's not the problem. The problem
wasn't mostly referring to this game.
The problem is that this game doesn't seem... this game almost seems to be afraid of arousing people.
Exactly my point. It's
even
the same
though they have an entire sequence about it.
Not just that, it's the same argument I was making when it comes to Compile Heart, Jova. If they want to make pornographic visual novels, just make pornographic visual novels. Stop pretending to be something else.
Okay.
I'm sure Nintendo will put them on the Switch.
Okay, to be fair, Compile Heart are more in the ecchi category, which is supposed to be more cock teasers.
If you want to make porn, make porn. If you don't want to make porn, don't have fan service and pornographic stuff.
Well, Pedro, there's a middle point there. Again, it's called ecchi in the sense where
Ecchi's quite gross, though. Like
it doesn't have to be gross. Ecchi is more like, you know, the sense where you think it's gonna be porn, but no, they don't.
The #1 bakers in Kamsa.
Was Linus just flying for a second there?
I'm happy.
I'm sorry, where are you again?
Like, the point is not safe for work content can be tasteful.
Talk to the hand.
Maybe we should order our wedding cake from them.
Huh?
Their bakery seems really popular.
I am very enthused.
My God,
by
Christina
this.
V, did you just check out at this point?
Yeah, that's...
I'm absolutely convinced that she did too.
Well, I mean, can you really blame it?
No,
not really.
I get the idea that this was like the last couple of lines that she recorded.
Not just that, like you yourself have been saying, she most likely had like zero direction.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Direction! Someone give me direction, please.
Maybe I'll just act all
I
dull
was
and
trying to
sound
make a
like I
pun,
had
but I couldn't
before.
think of anything good.
Also,
nothing.
I know she's not the only pink-haired lady in anime, but I swear she looks like that Sakura from Naruto when she was.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
me and Job already
Taylor-
mentioned it.
That's what Taylor's been joking about ever
Well,
since.
not more Job than me.
No. I was the one who started that
Yeah.
joke.
Right?
Sure.
Of course.
I think you dreams compare her to Afro Princess something from Code Geass.
Euphemia?
Euphemia, thank you.
Wait, what?
I mean, thankfully she's not as stupid as.
They didn't even redo the anime cutscene with Towa. Fucking heck.
Wait,
I mean, seriously.
Pedro,
again,
I was
they've
about to ask,
corrected
Pedro,
the picture.
did you just play the wrong scene or something?
This is Scooby-Doo in the Summer Chase level of color
Guys,
laziness.
like Jova said earlier, all you have to do is color her eyes and hair yellow. It doesn't take that
That's what you've
much.
been doing throughout the whole game.
Oh my god, it's literally Towa and everything! What the
Too embarrassing.
What? Yeah, it says Towa on the. I don't. Oh god,
No.
like.
I wish I was high like the priest right now. That
Oh, there you go.
smile.
Now she's
I
Towa.
just can't keep putting up this timid girl persona.
Wait, oh, I get it, so she was pretending to be Toki, was it?
I don't know, Jova, and quite frankly, I don't care at this point. Can
Yeah,
this game
the
just
game is
end?
also
Not only
somewhat
that,
slower at least.
not only that, wouldn't that imply that she was...
I do like this one, though. Yeah, that actually is, that
Towa
makes
stage fright.
it makes sense for Towa to actually react that way, since she's the more, she's shown over the course of the game that she's the shy one.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
And I
here
do
we go.
kind of like this bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense with her character.
Yeah.
I don't like what she says now.
Why zoinks, Zack?
For embarrassing me. Just accept it.
Good job, game. You managed to get what? You managed to get 2 good lines in a row.
Now,
Good
let's
job.
cut the cake.
Did someone else took over?
I don't think that's what they
Also,
meant
isn't
by
there a moment here that was quite funny?
Seriously, this is, aside from the colorist error, this is probably the best cutscene in the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's here.
It's
Oh, hey,
the game having
Moebius.
it's the game having a brief moment of clarity. Oh, here we go.
So, does this mean that Moebius
Oh,
is gonna be
boy.
a hobo now?
Possible.
I love how they always bring this up out of nowhere for no reason. Alright, here you go. I'm going to live happily ever after with Towa.
With Towa. For all
Ah,
time.
get it? Get it? Huh? With Towa, I'm gonna live for all time. For all time. With Toki, I'm gonna live for all eternity. See, we're clever like that.
So
We're
it's
clever.
over,
We're
it's
clever.
over.
You see, Ribs, we're clever writers, aren't we?
Cause we're going to shout it loud, even if our words seem
meaningless. It's like I'm carrying the weight of the world.
I'm carrying the weight of a world.
That's something. That's something those really pretentious.
Oh my God!
clever
I
writers
just
do.
realized
Wow.
Toki's voiced by Kana Hanazawa. Oh my God!
What?
Jesus.
The Japanese voice of Catriel.
Aw, how
Oh my God.
nice.
You-
Keep in
this
mind,
will-
keep in
talk
mind,
about
Pedro.
wasting a talented actress and singer.
Well, just in that kind of sense, Pedro, don't search IMDb because Japanese voice actors and actresses get wasted like this like regularly because they're not that much like in America. It's a
I
common
guess.
thing that happens here too.
Here's the thing. Seiyus
Also,
get paid.
what is this ending credit music?
Like, here's the thing, Pedro. Seiyus tend to get paid less than voice actors do, so...
Whatever.
Yeah, they're... Let's just say they tend to be a lot more desperate in some cases. Or in some cases, they are just more open to doing more stuff as well.
Alright. Can I give my final thoughts first if we're up there?
Go ahead.
Oh wait, I just gotta point out, guys, isn't this the song that we've been hearing every time during those tutorials, Pedro?
Is it?
Yes.
I don't
Is it?
remember hearing this song before. In the
They
game,
were,
I mean.
they were literally playing the melody over that. Also, the Towa ending kind of implies that Towa was supposed... Oh, there it is. There's the melody. This ending kind of implies that Towa was dyeing her hair pink, but somehow at the last minute she removed the dye and her hair became blonde again.
because that's a thing.
All right, one final thing before we one final thing. Might as well bring this up since they're in the cards before his final thoughts. According to this game, and keep in mind, remember we also had the writer of the Death Note anime write Reference Rev. So for all we know, again, it was just another case where he wasn't allowed to. And I still don't know because it doesn't match with IMDb. Apparently, the screenwriter of this game was someone called Yoichi Kato. Considering I didn't find anything on IMDb, I'm going to hope that it's a different Yoichi Kato than the one I'm familiar with, because the Yoichi Kato that I know is a fantastic writer, and I don't want to. And it's probably the same case if it was the guy who. What did the Death Note anime writer also write, Jova? That you know that thing that I forgot what it was.
Oh God.
Both Reference Ref and the Death Note anime, but he also wrote that other great comedic anime that also has sexual humor that's much better than Reference
Oh,
Ref.
Ranma 1/2.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
And this game was written by someone called Yoichi Kato. I've tried figuring out if it's the same Yoichi Kato from the Yokai Watch franchise, and I couldn't find any connections.
No, it's probably not the same though.
And but well, regardless, even if
it is the same him, I guess we could say he had a fluke. Happens
Or
to the
he
best.
just needed money badly.
Because I can tell you that as the lead screenwriter of the Yokai Watch animes and the screenwriter of the first 4 Yokai Watch movies, he's a fantastic writer. And he has great, he does great sexual. Yeah, the Yokai Watch anime has better sexual comedy than this thing does, and it's a kids show.
I guess it wouldn't be the first time we've seen a great writer do an incredibly crap job on something.
Oh, that happens all the time. It's like I've talked about various times. Like no matter how talented and passionate you are, you're always gonna have mistakes in your career. There's no such thing as a flawless career, except for maybe like people like Kubrick. But Kubrick is like a 1 in a million guy. But anyway, go ahead.
Didn't Kubrick have that one slip up too?
I can tell you it. Oh, sorry, go on.
It depends on who you ask, Joe, because remember, all of Kubrick's films were very unconventional and polarizing, so it varies on the person.
There was that one movie that he said he didn't like, but we can talk about that later.
Anyway, my final thoughts. Well, as you could tell from mine and the other commentators' reactions throughout the game, I don't think this is a very good game. I mean, I can't speak for the battle system because, I haven't played it and I'm probably not going to at this point. But as for the story, the one I can judge because I've seen it, it's rubbish. I mean, it's not funny except for like the very, very end. None of the characters are all that. None of the characters are all that interesting. It's so easy to get confused because I mean, with it's time travel stories. They can either be really good or really bad. There seems to be very little in between with them. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as Sonic 06's attempt at time travel, but it's still not very good.
Actually, I'm gonna say it. I think the time travel was one of the better handled elements, especially with the lengths they went to for the continuity. That is until we get to how they undo the vow thing, but...
Yeah, it pretty much stumbles at the very end. It's like tripping at the finishing line.
That's it. Other than that, they surprisingly handled the time travel well, with enough with the consistency. As well as you can do with this sort of time travel.
The music's fine. The graphics are okay. The anime sprites are fine, but the 3D graphics are horrible. I mean, I know this was still PS3, but I mean, Sonic Generations came out 2 years before, and that was much better looking.
Oh my god, it did come out 2 years before. What was this company
Well,
doing?
in the West, anyway.
Hell, Arcry Fantasia looked better than this, and that was on the Wii.
Oh, good. So to bring more to a more comparative game of the same genre. You know what game also came out in the same year in the West that this game did? On the same console, even?
Was it one of the Tales of games?
Ni no Kuni Rafa the White Witch.
Alright, okay.
A much better anime-looking game than this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I've got nothing else. Not very good. That's all. No.
Sure, Roy.
Honestly, this wasn't as painful of a revisit as I thought it would be. I mean, I remembered very little of it anyway, but I wish that were the case because this was honestly just very tedious.
So you preferred you enjoyed Fairfin's Ref more than this then?
Oh God, no! But at least I felt something going through that. This is just one of those ones where compared to something like Fairy Fencer, this is so inoffensive, surprisingly so, that it just
it almost makes you wish it were offensive, so you'd have something to talk about, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it was just so repetitive throughout. It's like, do something T, do something T, do something T, and even I'm not like that. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
There's some variety in my life.
You know what's interesting, Sheila? You know what's interesting? That actually bring that up. You know, like just like with Reference Ref, this game also, you told us earlier in another part that you were doing some self-reflecting because of this. So how did that self-reflecting turn out?
I am not like this. This is way too boring for me. Is that I don't really care about any of the characters. The music was strange. You had a couple of good tracks here and there, and then there was.
I still argue that track is fine.
No,
it's just
fine. It's just
mostly
how
it's
often you
overused.
hear it.
Yeah, overused.
But there are definitely, a couple of better tracks in there, and then there's the quote-unquote triumphant theme.
Yeah, that track is funny.
as it was stated by a couple of us, I think it kind of just. Sorry, it kind of just mirrors this game. I'm kicking things around because of this game. No, I'm not. I'm not that upset about it. No, like I said. But no. It kind of.
She says while trying to contain her rage.
Her eternal rage of all time.
Yes. Well, what was I gonna say? Yeah, that theme kind of reads to me like the failure music from games like Sonic Unleashed, but that's actually funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hearing this over and over again is just, I don't appreciate it. Again, it's not a bad theme itself, I'm just sick of it already.
Honestly, if you ask me, the only bad music in this game is the trumpet theme, really. Everything else, at worst, is just bland.
Well, it's like we said, I mean, even the trumpet theme technically works for what it...
I like the dungeon for the Haunted Forest dungeon theme.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, quick question, Shoei. Have you ever played Streets of Rage?
Nope.
Well, go to YouTube and check Streets of Rage soundtrack. That's Yuzo Koshiro's best work. It's amazing 16-bit music.
I think you've mentioned like his work throughout this anyway, so yeah, it's just a case of he either didn't care or this was just a slip-up for him.
If I remember correctly, Joe, but didn't Yuzo Koshiro write for some of the Game Gear Sonic games?
Yes,
at some point?
he did.
Which one did he do?
I'm checking right now.
I do not
Go
recall
ahead,
off the top
continue.
of my head.
The 8-bit version of Sonic, and that's it.
Oh, that
Sonic-
soundtrack's actually pretty good.
Sonic 1. 8-bit version of Sonic 1.
There you go, then.
Especially the jungle theme.
My favorite's the Bridge Zone theme.
No, that one's a classic. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This was just... This happened, I guess?
This
There
happened.
we go.
Okay,
Right,
I'll...
go ahead.
No, Java, go ahead. I don't mind.
Yeah, I'll say... Okay, if there's one thing that's changed, it's like I said, I have seen so much worse games nowadays that, looking back at this, I don't feel the utter amount of annoyance and rage that I felt. Don't get me wrong, Rachel still gets on my nerves as a legit bad character, but I've seen so much worse, and yeah, okay, if I can't give the game something, yes, there are bouts of dialogue that could convince you that Zack, Toki, and Towa are in love. Problem is, those are the more optional stuff and stuff you have to go out of your way to look for. Which, yeah, I get it, isn't the worst thing, but it could have been done better. Like, I think the best way to sum this game up is, like, it feels like somebody who takes up a job at a stripper joint, but is all of a sudden realizing, oh my god, I'm way too shy to actually be a stripper. That's pretty much what it is. Again,
yeah, pretty much.
For a game that talks about actually no, it doesn't even talk about trying to be all sexy and fan servicey thing. Again, it feels like more effort went into making Moebius, again, the guy who goes on to repeat that he's a man, yet is probably just a woman.
Allow me to add to that, Jova. Unlike what some people might tell you, everybody, there's no such thing as a job to be embarrassed about. If you're a stripper, I don't care. Be the best stripper you can be. Take pride in what you do. There's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of what this game feels like. For a game that supposedly tries to be all fan servicey, like, it feels embarrassed of being that. Like, it just chickens out or just goes, well, there's it, and then just runs off like it's shy and running with its tail between its legs. Now, funnily enough, the scene where we see Toki and Towa nearly naked doesn't feel titillating, but feels more hilarious because of the triumphant music that plays during that scene. I can't tell if that was the intent or anything, but if the intent was to arouse someone, yeah, you failed. Now, if the intent was to make people laugh, okay, that was one of the few legit laughs you gave. Only because the scene actually works with there. And speaking of the scenes, going from scene to scene can feel like you are venturing through different games at certain points in time here and there with how much the tone shifts. I get it, sometimes stuff will go from 0 to 11 and whatnot, but this game just does not work with that well at all. Like, we start the game off with sort of a serious tone with Zack being killed, but then we go right into funny when it turns out he's in Drake's body and
Even before that, Joel, remember, the first time he's killed, he's all like, right after being stabbed, is there any manlier way to go out? I'm like a chick magnet right now. Again, the game doesn't take itself seriously in any shape or form. Go ahead.
I mean, and that's a problem when it actually does want to try and take itself seriously, but it's almost like, you gotta watch out for if they'll get you with the funny stuff all of a sudden. And I say funny in the sense that it's funny to whoever wrote that, and probably not so funny to the people reading or watching it. Mm-hmm. Jokes come in and go out, and they leave destruction in their wake of a lot of the serious moments here and there. Again, I won't deny, there are some scenes that I did legit enjoy. Like, some actually did really work. The problem is that they're overshadowed by a pretty mediocre project. Like, it seems pretty clear that the big gimmick of this game was supposed to be, look, we got hand-drawn animated sprites here that move and do all this animated stuff, but in a 3D background. It feels like that's a lot of the budget went to. Problem is, well, with the money that they could spare for it, well, okay, the sprites themselves look good and fine, but it's the motion. Stuff in motion in this game looks pretty terrible. Okay, for comparison's sake, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was a game with pretty good gameplay, but absolutely terrible production rates, and that caused the game to fail. This is a game that doesn't even have good gameplay, more like it's so fine that it's fine gameplay. So you can imagine.
So average, it's painful, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, again, the problem with the gameplay is that, okay, the main gameplay gets some changes, but nothing really of note. And hey, when you're highly leveled, it doesn't seem like you need to use them, as Pedro demonstrated. So there's that. But then you got the giant boss fights, which are pretty much the textbook definition of video game monotony. There's only 2 of them, so you don't really grow as a fighter between the 2 of them. And they're just so long and full of damage sponging and all that jazz.
I get the feeling the reason there's such damage sponging is because the developers want to make sure we hear all of the droning dialogue.
And also that the fight didn't end in like 2 seconds, I guess.
Well, okay. To bounce back to what I said about Shadow the Hedgehog earlier, to its credit, Jova, you don't have to spend 9 minutes in the final boss to hear a crucial confirmation of a major plot hole. So there's that.
Yeah, so congrats, game. You've got one thing over a PS2 game. Anyway, back to it though. But yeah, that's the thing. So the gameplay is obviously not going to be your major draw to. Although I have to wonder if this gameplay does better or worse with its time-traveling powers than Quantum Break does.
I'd still say better. Once again, this is paradoxically, this is probably one of the best cases of a bad quote-unquote story involving time travel. And even then, it's still not perfect because, of course, like I said, he trips at the end. But compared to some of the worst time travel stories that you can think of, especially in video games, this is like gold.
I know, right? I think that's one of the biggest surprises.
13-2 still stands proud as the king of bad time travel JRPGs.
Yeah. Okay, next topic, actually. One of the biggest surprises of this game was how well it worked with time travel in the story here. Like, yeah, I mean, it was...
For the most part.
Again, for the most part. But, I mean, surprisingly, they actually do take into mind that our actions in the past do change the future, and they do show changes here and there to the point where it does change characters' arcs and whatnot. And they actually managed to keep it consistent. Heck, they even keep it so that, you can't solve a side quest that obviously you were supposed to do in a certain time date in a later time date or whatnot. So I have to appreciate the attention to detail there. And the time-traveling powers in battle, as basic as they are, do make ligaments of sense here and there when you actually put them in. And hey, unlike Quantum Break, they're not, sort of arbitrarily scripted in where and when you can use them. So, again, kudos to that. So, congrats, Simon Eternity. You actually managed to do decently with your time travel. That is until we get to how the vow is dealt with. Now, I'll talk more about the stupidity of the vow later in my thoughts, but speaking of the vow itself, I'm still reeling. How exactly does telling them not to make the vow make it so that, one of them disappears? Like,
even so, Java, it opens up a can of plot holes in itself because one, it tells us that the changes appear to be instantaneously the moment you fix the timeline, and that creates a problem in terms of paradoxes, especially because we keep jumping back and forth between the past and the scene of the wedding. And second, most importantly, it tells us that Granny Smith can also time travel, meaning that at any point Toki or Towa could have asked her for help.
Hey, wait, actually, now that I mention about it, how does Granny remember what life was like before this or that? Like, isn't she technically from our time, so shouldn't that all cause her to forget?
Again, that thing creates a plot hole, a conga line of plot hole, which is the typical point of downfall in a time travel story. The one bit that makes the entire castle of cards collapse.
What makes it upsetting is that they didn't even have to make it that complicated. Just say, hey, undoing the vow actually allows both of you to survive, as it naturally should. And then Moebius, in a fit of anger, attacks us or something. And then, deal with him there. Like, it feels honestly like they only really wanted to do this just so they could have the alternative endings. And I get it. You want to have some sense of tragedy or a bittersweet ending or stuff, but it doesn't feel like it was really earned when you actually dissect it there. So, bummer there. The music definitely feels like it has passion behind it. I mean, that's like finding a needle in the haystack with the amount of mundaneness in this game.
Joe, as someone who's played the Luminous games and Across Fantasia, I can tell you that this is not at all like how passionate Image Epoch feels like at all.
Oh, I believe you. Again, I can't wait to see Across Fantasia to see what passionate Image Epoch are like.
Well, I'm gonna be long. Dwebs, are you okay with us doing the undubbed version of our Craftsman, aka Japanese audio with English subtitles?
Yeah. Does it have an English dub?
It does, but it's god awful and ruins the game. That's the problem.
Well, I know I could have a few laughs.
Probably needs a better context. We'll deepen this after we're done with this.
Yeah, sure. We can talk more about this later. Back to my final thoughts, though. The music I actually enjoyed throughout. Hey, I'll admit, even the trumpet theme technically does its job well. The problem is more so the sound design and how they're used here and there. Not good. Not good, especially considering how much they can affect the tone of scenes. I love the boss themes. Those are definitely my favorite bits. Like the scary forest theme. Yeah, I like the music in general here. That's another thing I'll give this game. Granted, there's not that much music in it, but I have mainly a consistent feeling of pleasure when hearing stuff here and there. So yeah, there's that. Which means that I'm not too afflicted by hearing the tea time theme. Okay, covered that. I guess all there's left to talk about is the story and characters in general here. Rachel sucks. Enda had potential. Sucks, because she pretty much blew it at the last minute of the end by just being a cock tease. And no, you can't spout women empowerment or anything by having her go on and on about Ricardo. Like, okay, maybe if it turned out Ricardo was nothing but a jerk, but the guy actually can be pretty nice, so it makes no sense why Enda at the last second goes all no on him. Like, goddamn. Rachel's arc was done fine enough. The problem is that she kind of goes back to being a bit of an annoying brat towards us afterwards. Weddy is the one character who had a proper arc. Shame they didn't do as much as they could have with her, but nonetheless, she is one of the best characters by virtue of just having an arc that actually followed through and helping bring Makamona to reason. Makamona is an interesting character. Again, it feels like there's a lot of potential to her, potential that was not reached nor seen. Although there's more to her than Toki and Towa's grandmother. Yeah, I like to call her one of those last-minute types of characters who's just in it for the last act and pretty much there to show that things are getting somewhat more serious. Then there's Sanders, aka Moebius. Am I the one who feels like Moebius was kind of like a last-minute type of villain?
Oh my god, I just realized that Sanders as a name was a pun because it was made of sand. Fuck me.
Wait.
You didn't realize that?
You didn't realize that one?
Sorry, as you may realize, Shiro, I normally tend to be a bit allergic to puns, so these things like this kind of flew over my head.
Well, I tend to make them all the time, so yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And that's why we all love Ace Attorney. Anyway, but yeah, seriously though, am I the one who feels like Moebius is kind of like a last-minute villain? I mean, let's think about it. There was pretty much almost no hinting whatsoever that Sanders was the bad guy.
I forgot, Pedro. Did I theorize even in the original round that the priest was going to be the twist villain?
You
because
did.
That felt certainly like to me.
Basically, Gio, here's how it went. I was the one who called that Sanders would be the bad guy, and you were the one who thought that the priest would be the bad guy in the end.
Oh, well.
But yeah, I mean, Moebius just does not feel like he was hinted at all. And I guess you could say, oh, well, that's the Moebius loop in a nutshell here and there. The Moebius loop is something that I don't entirely get because the story does not explain it that well. Again, apparently the Moebius loop got power because Toki and Towa supposedly just made vows of friendship. Totally wasn't lesbianism or, narcissism going on in there.
And self-cessed.
Let's be soft and call it narcissism, please.
Yeah. The point being is well, I have a hard time believing that they made that vow supposedly just out of friendship. But, yeah, and that somehow makes a vow because Sanders happened to be nearby or whatnot, and...
Remember, Sanders is entrusted with every hair of the royal family. That's why we're all timekeepers and shit.
Makes you wonder, why did he even become evil at some point?
Shit that the game never explains, by the way.
Exactly. Once again, a lot of elements that the game should tell more about. The game severely lacks lore building. That's a problem.
Okay, alone they may seem like small details, but gathered together, this feels like a puzzle piece that's missing at least 25% of its pieces to make a proper picture.
And what does Layton says about incomplete puzzles?
They're flawed, unsolvable.
Exactly. And that is one of the big problems about this game here. It feels so half-assed. It feels like even when they have something good going here, they missed the completion mark to make it proper here and there. Like, hey, we've got a supposed good romance here, but we missed the landing point to nail it. Especially when we sort of end scenes off of some stupid comedy. Some work better than others. Oh no, this is not the worst game ever. Like, let me be clear. There are much worse games out there. Heck, I'm still interested in seeing this game for myself, and I might have bought it if it were on a system that I own. But I do not own a PS3.
Congrats, Time and Eternity. You're not the worst game ever made. Pat yourself in the back, Image Epoch.
But that's the thing, though. Sure, you're not the worst, but you are definitely not the most memorable either. Like I said, I got more enjoyment out of Time and Eternity. I mean, no, I got more. No, God, now I'm doing what Shiroi did.
Yeah, this is a curse.
Well, Joe, remember we talked about earlier in this playthrough. These two games feel like they're conjoined twins.
Yeah,
they share most of the same flaws.
Like, I'm gonna say, Fairy Fence Ref may be a worse game altogether, but it still has higher highs than this game does by far.
It's more memorable than this one.
It's more memorable.
I can imagine it's definitely better to play as.
Oh yeah, it's better to play. It's better to look at. Again, it has better.
You've played the Neptunia games, haven't you?
Yeah, no, but that was my argument. But go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, better character design there too. It's just a better game.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Joe. I'll still take the character design in this game over. I don't like Tsunaku, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, I still think that is better character design. Again, better to look at. Again, it's technically a worse game going off of morals and some of the racy humor. But aside from that, it's a better experience in this game here. I mean, I would still want to get this game because it's one of those games that you have to see to believe actually happened.
Come on, Bandai Namco, release the remaster. Fuck Xenosaga. 4 games on the PS4.
just put it on Steam. Steam is full of this shit.
I mean, come on. I mean, apparently you can't get a fan base elsewhere. Steam may be your last hope, guys.
Honestly, Joe, but considering how low sales were and how ravaged, remember this has like a 42 on Metacritic. 42.
Even IGN couldn't put themselves of giving it a 6, so we just opted on a 5.6. So.
To give you an idea, the 13 sequels are like 70 plus and 60 plus on Lightning Returns case. This game couldn't even get that. This game got a 42.
Wow. But of course,
so
Famitsu still gave it a 32 out of 40, of course.
Famitsu would give a 10 out of 10 to a game that's literally just a guy shitting for 2 hours. But the point
it's
is...
sad because it's probably true.
My guess is, Joa, the incredibly abysmal sales come out with the incredibly abysmal reviews from both fans and critics. Bandai Namco kind of disown the game, and they don't... at this point, they probably don't even remember that they own it.
Or they do remember, and they're just trying to hide it out of the shade.
Keep it in the basement, yeah.
Would not surprise me because you know. I think I'll just sum it up. This game feels like it was made by somebody who is either drunk or so high on happiness, I guess because he was married, that he wasn't conscious while making it. But after he sobered up, he saw it and thought, "Dear God, what have I done? Burn this, hide this away," and when the reception came in, yeah, game over. That's pretty much what this game feels like. It feels like a drunken mistake. It gives you a headache, you really regret making it, and you just want to forget it exists. And congrats, most of the world agrees with you.
And then you wake up with the game next to you in your bed, and you're like, "Well, please tell me we didn't do it."
Oh, we did it all night long. Want to go again, sugar? And that puts a cap to my final thoughts. Theo, you go next.
2 things first. I also have a staff member confusion for this. In this case, the producer, Kei Hirono, because I couldn't find anything of him, but I did find a Kei Hirono who has worked on Dark Souls and now is working for Square Enix. He did a couple of minor mobile games like Imperial Saga and Chaos Rings 3, but now he's mostly famous for doing the Brave Exvius mobile game, which is also pretty good in terms of story and gacha gameplay. So that's interesting. But I also find out, I forgot we did mention, the company who did the sprites animation and the anime cutscenes, a company called Satellite. If you don't know, these guys have been the one who did most of the Fairy Tail anime. And this kind of explains to me why the animation looks cheap, because I don't really like how the general look of Fairy Tail in general. But the weird did other stuff, like a couple of the Atlus games opening animations, or Demon X Machina more recently. Even Final Fantasy 15 episode Arden prologue last year. So what the fuck happened with this game? Really, we probably really had such a shitty budget.
Shitty budget,
you know, that's kind of been the running theme. We've been asking ourselves, what are these writers doing here? What are these voice actors doing here? And now what are these producers doing here? Like, I wouldn't be surprised that the only reason we haven't been able to find these on their IMDb's is because they've been going out of their way to not be credited.
Dead forgotten. Which, again, to me, is the biggest mystery over all of its game. The fact that, by all accounts, even regardless of how we or someone else judges it, this should be something still that at least some people talk about. The way this is becoming kind of like a black hole in terms of any attention gets sucked in and doesn't leave traces around it, meaning that not everyone basically notices it unless you are willing to poke into it. Kind of baffles me, because even the more nowadays, thanks to the internet, even the more obscure games that Japan made, and maybe they get a small window English release, and even by their standards, they still tend to be talked about in some capacity. This is unprecedented to me, and that kind of says a lot.
Yeah, the most I'm able to find is reviews that were made during the release time. After that,
let's consider this as well. When we first commentated on this game was like, what, 1 or 2 years old at most.
I get the feeling it was because of it simply just bombed and tanked immediately, and then literally everyone just forgot it and move on. Because once again, I think I mentioned this in the original run. I did got to know this game before it's released, thanks to those PlayStation magazine that I used to buy. So there was a genuine effort in pushing this game and people talking about it.
I just randomly saw it in a shop.
Yeah, Namco Bandai was pushing it at the time. I have a theory too. There's also the point that ever since this game came out, the quality of anime JRPGs, the JRPGs of an anime aesthetic has increased much further than this. Like games like Persona and Ni no Kuni became more popular. Like stuff like this Gaia became more popular. Like at this point,
let's face it, it was also the fact that America started accepting them a bit more, because that was always one of the bigger barriers.
Because there's so many better alternatives. This game just kind of fell by the wayside and be forgotten because people just. There was so much alternative.
That would work, but you yourself should know that companies like Compile Heart managed to survive exactly with the same thought process, and so I genuinely wonder what happened with this, because again, this feels exactly unique, even for the time being. But whatever,
remember too, Compile Heart used to be Compile, as in the developers of the Puyo Puyo series. So they still have a somewhat respectable pedigree compared to someone like Image Epoch, who are mostly niche.
And even regarding their current stuff, like I said, their current stuff knows what it wants to be and sticks to it. Regardless of, how some people may feel about certain bits here and there, it knows what it wants to be with Neptunia. Even Fairy Friends Rift knew what it wanted to be, despite much to some people's chagrin. But again, I digress. It knew what it wanted to be and stuck to its identity, whereas Time and Eternity does not.
Sorry. But in order to not make it too long, as for the final thoughts, pardon me, audience, I completely forgot what my precise final thoughts were for the original run. But I would have to say...
I do.
Go on.
You said, and I quote, "Let me just tell you that I thought that I've seen everything. I thought that I saw the worst that has ever been seen. Now I see that I can always be surprised and shit like this."
Basically, to your Time and Eternity was the start of you realizing.
The theatricality of the early YouTube years, I get it. No, but in general, on a couple of aspects, let me start with this. On a couple of aspects, this game is better than I remember it. unfortunately, of course, it's not enough to save it. It's a weird paradox because, once again, as mentioned, Paper and Strap is a better game to play as, and unfortunately, I'm signing sort of with Jova on the character design. I do believe Tsunako at least goes a bit better with the details and the color balance. This game has a poor attention to the border of the characters. I guess it's because of the anime aesthetic, and also the color palette. Everything is a bit too bright for my taste, and even the balance, lots of white here and there. But the character design is, as I mentioned, not good. The character personality, by that again, it's better than I remember, but unfortunately, it's not say much. One thing that got worse with me it's Weddy, ironically enough. I do believe of three girls, Rager is the one that has the better story arc because we know her origin, we know her motivation, and we know what she goes to do. Weddy has only like a third of his qualities. We know her arc that happens right in the middle of the third arc, the fact that she wants to love Makimona. But once again, we don't know where she comes from, who are her parents, who the fuck are your parents. I still do believe it is an important thing for a narrative to at least bother to mention who your parents are, especially if you want to have a character in a spotlight for a good chunk of time. And is
Hatsune Miku.
But even barely. I'm pretty sure I can find another better parallel, but right now I don't have time to think about it. Makimona could have been better too, but she's just there. Ricardo and his cronies have the setup for possibly some of the jokes that could be better, but get ruined by a thing that I'm about to mention. Moebius as the villain is an interesting idea to take on the time-traveling villain, but it gets confused by the joke barrage, the merging with the dragon, and the absolute awful explanation that the game gives to what this deity, and once again, time-traveling deity, is supposed to decide to take. Once again, I totally get the idea of shape-shifting, and that includes also gender. But it was clear, this shows the time this game was made, because something like this, if this game was better known in this day and age, this game will not pass the Twitter usual suspects. But that's only for the main characters. Zack is the one that I revalue the better because I surprisingly empathize much more with his pervertedness, believe it or not. Even I get it to the point of interrupting some serious moments for the sake of a pervert joke. It arguably is something that I will do in some situations, so I kind of shamefully understand that. Toki and Towa is they should have, ironically enough, it should have been developed a bit better because it's something that the game does. It stops dead on its track on moments where it should be explaining things. Even when it pretends it does explain things, it doesn't.
I actually found that my evaluation of them is reversed. Back then I used to think Towa was the better one, but now I feel like Toki's
I don't like
the better
them either,
one.
gotta be honest. I like Towa's design a bit better, gotta be the tomboyish attitude at first, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing much more in these two girls. But that's for the character design and overall personality. What kills the other part that kills the most is the English dub, because all of these people were talented. As everyone said, but not crediting half of the cast, even in some arguable important NPCs. Sorry. The deliveries are just completely badly directed. The most egregious example is the joke sets with Ricardo, where he gets beaten by Zack in his Drake form. Again, classic humor anime that is completely ruined by Ricardo's voice actor giving a deadpan delivery instead of going over the top and screaming out of his lungs instead. Oh no, you're beating me. You're so my heart is on fire because of this. Come on, emote a bit. Who someone needed to be blamed for this. It's such a rookie mistake to do for this kind of behavior. And for once, I'm not sure if I had to. It's uncharacteristic for East America too, because they're known for doing the opposite, for going sometimes too much over the top. So what happened here? Like the one time they wanted to be restrained, and it's this. Sorry, but whatever. All right, the grandma. The grandma is just, like I said, she opens a can of worms just with her own personal time travel shenanigans. Unless it's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing and she gives this gift to Toki and Towa. But even so, either I glossed it over, so it's my... If I happen to gloss it over, because we were talking over it, it's my bad. But if it's not, the game should have conveyed it better. The music. Yuzo Koshiro is probably the best thing in this game. There are still some themes here and there that are just iffy. I would agree that it's not something that I will hum over it, or I will immediately want to get the soundtrack from YouTube or whatever other places, Spotify, whatever it may be available. But there are still two, three themes that I actually really like. The trumpet theme, I agree that it has lost its power, quote unquote, over time, but it's still very aggravating and a showcase similar to Fairfence Rap with the fact that the pace of the game gets interrupted, and the music, I keep mentioning, it's a big culprit of it, because that alone can be extremely detrimental. One thing that I think it's a better example, probably, is also stuff like the Yokai Watch anime, once again, in a sense that the Yokai Watch anime also has moments that are serious, immediately succeeded by a joke, by usually the comic relief.
There's even a trumpet theme too.
Hold on. Yes and no, but I would argue that the music transition is either non-existent or much smoother. Here, it's like hitting a brick wall in terms of shift. You can definitely feel it, and that such a player that is not, that doesn't like this kind of thing, immediately gets pulled out of the game.
Me.
Well, I didn't want to make names, but I'm pretty sure you're not the only one.
I don't. By all means, name me. I don't mind it.
Whatever. I'm trying to make an example also for the audience. Yes, I'm talking to you, invisibly pointing at the screen right now. That's only talking about the story and the characters and the other presentation aspect, because the gameplay is, again, from what I've seen both from Original Run and this is just not something that I would love to play. Keep in mind, that copy on Amazon that is like $10 is still available. Right now, I don't know when it gets published, but if you check the minimal news, or people in the audience, you know that right now it's not really a good time for me to pre-order something on Amazon. So, but when this is over, I may give it a bit of curiosity, just for, the lulz, and because I can allow myself to do that now. And we'll see how it is for myself. If I can stand it, I'll just, abandon it like it needs to be and move on.
Oh, no platinuming?
We'll see, Jova, we'll see. All in due time. But, so overall, to wrap things up, because, again, too long, better than I remember, I suppose, of Marriage Run, and I'm glad I was part of this rerun just so I could give a bit more proper fan thoughts, years of wisdom on YouTube after the original.
Indeed.
But it's still unfortunately not a good game. I'm not sure if I define it better or worse than Fairy Fencer, because it is both similar and different at the same time. So it's quite the paradox in theme with the time travel element. Next.
Okay, to start with the visuals, the animation is crap. I disagree when it comes to the character designs of this game are by no means good. They're generic anime stereotype shit. However, I will say this. I do like the designs better than Tsunako's designs in Fairy Fencer F, because the overall clothing and overall accessories, for the most, I haven't seen all of, even the NPCs seem pretty much very reasonable. It's not like there's like a single design where I think like, oh, what are you wearing, or something like that. Whereas in Fairy Fencer F, there's Karen's earrings, where that she had like these huge earrings that would be very painful for her to wear in her ears. That are so unpractical. There's Soji's pendulum thing that he has hanging on from his glasses for some reason. You know, like stuff like that are just confusing. And why would you even draw that? You know, like it's so unpractical. And of course, like Teo mentioned in that playthrough, the Ciara's pose with her hand, which is incredibly unpractical. You know, like Tsunaku's overall character design to me feels a lot more. Why are you making it like this? Whereas this one just seems bland to me. So there's that at least. There's more practicality in these designs, I would argue, but they're still bland, unmemorable designs. There's that. So the visuals are bad. The 3D backgrounds are bland. Moving on. The music, for the most part, is pretty decent. Sometimes even good. Towa's battle theme is genuinely really, really good. And the main theme is sweet. And I also like Toki's battle theme, not as much. And the boss theme is also kind of fun. The trumpet theme is terrible to me. I don't like it. It's way too pronounced. Like, maybe it's just because of the way it's used. Maybe in a better game this would turn out just fine. But I don't know. Like, I think the way it's composed, even the way it's composed, I don't really like the way it's composed, to be honest. It's just like it just sounds noisy. It doesn't sound melodic to me, you know? It just sounds like noise. But whatever. That's about it for the music. There's not that much to talk about the music. The world building is non-existent. The lore building is non-existent, so there's nothing for me to talk about there. The tone. The thing that I hate most about this game is the fucking tone. This game cannot... When FF can balance its tone better than you have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus fucking Christ. Not that... Don't get me wrong, FF is also terrible at balancing its tone. FF also has plenty of moments where it seems like where the game... Jova even himself pointed out, like how at the end of the Vile God route, yeah.
The thing about Fairy Fence Ref is like, well, it knew, okay, it had a more consistent knowledge of tone differences and how to ease us into the different tones as opposed to just going, oh, hey, look, serious. Oh, hey, look, funny. Hey, look, serious, and back and forth and back and forth.
That is true, Jova, but it still had its time and eternity moments.
Oh, it did. A special mention goes to the hot tub scene, which all of a sudden becomes serious out of nowhere, but we're not talking about that game.
Not just that. Allow me to quote Jova's thoughts on a certain scene from Fire Friends RF, where Fang says, "Sorry, I had to take a piss," and Aaron says, "You're ruining the dramatic."
Across the stream.
No, that's from part 9. You're thinking of a different scene, and that's and then Aaron goes, "You're ruining the dramatic tension." Allow me to quote Jova now. So you're telling me that we spent the entire game with this pissing thing and the trumpet theme, and now the game willingly tells me that it's ruining the dramatic tension. They're intentionally torturing the audience at this point.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was kind of I was in a special place of disappointment at that point in time with that game.
Fairy Friends RF also has its moments with
Oh. Like I said, Fairy Friends RF was technically the worst game when you get down to it.
Fairy Friends RF is more enraging because of the horribleness, but whatever. Back to this. The tone, though. The tone is, oh my god, like I like I said before, I feel alienated, and I hate the fact that it's like, do you want me to care? Do you? It doesn't seem like you do, because every time I even start thinking about the possibility of maybe giving a shit, you immediately slap me in the face with a fucking trumpet theme and the characters acting like morons. Like, oh my, and it's so jarring, it's literally painful. Like, oh my god. It's the moment that probably ticks me off the most is the one where before Moebius comes in, where Toki and Towa are having one last talk within their brain, where don't worry, it has to be me, and then Toki's like, no, it has to be me, and then Towa goes completely out of character and goes, oh, okay, if you insist then, and then Toki's like, no, well, if you insist. and then the chopper theme plays. Not only are the two characters acting
It
horribly,
evolves into an Abbott and Costello routine.
Not just that, Teo. Not just that, Teo. Both characters break their characters horribly there, because remember, like, both characters throughout the entire game are constantly going, don't worry, Zack, choose her, don't choose me. I'm willing to sacrifice myself because insert reason here, because both of them have different reasons. But in that one scene, both characters completely break character and start going, oh, okay, if you insist then. Like, it's just, do you want me to care about this or don't you? Game. Ugh, sorry, I'm allergic to bad writing. Anyway, it's okay. It makes me feel alienated. It pisses me off because the game is just so clearly telling me, "Ha! You want to care? Not." Like, you know what, game? If you're gonna be like this, then see ya. Bye. Like it's so horrible. I hate that. I hate that because it makes me feel I'm not wanted here. Like the game is making fun of me for even trying to enjoy it. Like it's every time throughout the entire time that I'm playing this game, I feel like the developers are making fun of me for buying their game.
Congrats, you are one of the few people in the world who bought our game.
You stupid moron. Yeah, that's a good way to treat your customers. Make fun of them for purchasing your product. That's a great way to make the player feel. Like, ugh, it's absolutely irritating and by far the worst thing in this game to me, because I could handle the shallow gameplay if the plot at the very least had some kind of if the plot at the very least believed in itself. It's like Shattered Crystal. Yeah, it's like Shattered Crystal script, because by far the worst Sonic story ever, where it has the exact same problem that this game has, where in Shattered Crystal, anytime even something even remotely engaging can happen, the game immediately breaks it off with a terrible pun that is just unfunny and stupid. Like, ugh, like. Why do you do this, writers? Like, why? It's god awful. Okay, aside from that, the characters are annoying at worst and bland at best. The story is bleh. What else? What did I miss? Oh yeah, the battle system. The battle system is shallow. It is overly simplistic, and even this is a short JRPG. Don't get me wrong. You can finish this in, like, if you're not doing the side quests, you can pretty much finish this in 15 hours. Even less if you're good at it. But it's still, the battle system is still not good enough to sustain 15 hours of gameplay. What else? The world, the dungeons. The dungeon design is literally non-existent. Here's the dungeon design of this game: an open, empty field with some random pillars and walls in there. There you go. There's your dungeon. That's dungeon design, right? That's how you design a dungeon. Let's not have some kind of puzzle to solve or some kind of unique gimmick that makes the dungeon memorable and stand out from the others. Nah.
Or have landmarks to keep you from getting lost.
That too. That also would help. Like, I will give it this: the dungeons in Final Fantasy F were completely samey and unmemorable, but at the very least they have distinguishing aesthetics. There's only 3 types of dungeons in this game: the green field, the forest, and what was the other one? The sanctuary thing. No, the church square is not a dungeon. It's just a place where we have cutscenes.
All right. There was like the
Elder Gods sanctuary thing.
Oh, I thought you were also going to mention also the cliffs where the assassins hid, or the family crypt.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the cliffs. Okay, 4 types of dungeons. Yeah, that shows you how memorable these places are. So there's only 4 types of dungeons in this game, and they're repeated ad nauseum. Final Fantasy F had more variety in dungeon aesthetics. Think about that for a moment. What else? What else did I stop? Did I forget to talk about gameplay?
Oh, how about the actual gameplay mechanics?
I've already talked about the battle system. It's shallow. Like it's based around dodging and hitting enemies, and the problem is that it's way too simplistic. Way too simplistic, and it's not enough to sustain. It gets old fast. It has a good concept in idea, but it completely doesn't flesh it out in any way, shape, or form. It just stops at the concept stage. Anyway, yeah.
Side quests.
Oh yeah, the side quests. The side quests, as I've shown like 2 side quests in this thing, or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, the side quests in this game devolve to literally nothing but a incredibly personality-deprived character telling you to go fetch this thing or to go kill this thing. And this is no Ni no Kuni 2.
But what about the guy who insists that he's fat because he wears clothes that make him look thin, supposedly? And again, special mention goes to that side quest from the fat president who's not even really fat, who got eaten by a monster because he was apparently fat.
That to me just comes across as dumb.
No shock.
Not funny. Not funny. There's a difference between being dumb and being funny. You can be both. Don't get me wrong. You can be both, but you cannot. But being dumb doesn't necessarily mean you're funny. Yeah, the side quests. The side quests are the quality of Ni no Kuni 2 side quests is nowhere near present here. There's no effort in making the side quests even remotely engaging, not even on a comedic level. The comedy, even when there's comedy like the fat president that Joe just mentioned, it's so bare bones and who cares that it's just like there's no spice to any of this. The writing lacks wit in an entire. There's 0 wit in this script. The writer has no idea how to actually write something comical, and it ruins the side quests. The side quests are about as shallow as they get. This is literally when people talk about shitty JRPG side quests, this is the game. This is a poster boy for those. This game basically is a poster boy. And that's about it, really. I don't think I figured out. This is a really bad game. A really bad game. It's not like the most horrible thing ever made, like Joe mentioned, but sorry. Not being the most horrible thing ever made, that's not something I'm going to applaud. Sorry. I'm not going to praise you for not being the most horrible thing ever made.
It's definitely not what gets you memorized either.
You won't even get a cookie. Not even a cookie. Sorry. You'll get nothing.
You get one piece of fan art from one very loyal fan, apparently.
Whatever. The point is, this game is really bad. And that's the end. Tune in for... Okay, everybody, I still to this day haven't yet found a new JRPG that is on the same tune as these 2 games, Fair and Seraph and Time and Eternity. But don't worry, your audience. I'm still searching. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll find another one. I found out that there's this JRPG thing on the PS3 called Tears to Tiara thing. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is about. I'm gonna look into it, see if maybe it's something like that as well. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. But again, I'm always on the search for games that are like this because you have to wonder: are there more games like this than these 2?
And could there be something even worse?
All right, everybody. See ya.
Ta-ta!
See ya.